First, I start out by creating a paper template. I like doing this because it allows me not to have to keep measuring on my fabric over and over again. For this template, I played around with a few different dimensions, but I decided on a 9-inch height and a 7.75-inch width for a medium sized vest. Now you can see I'm marking out the vertical lines in the almost midway points here to mark the final decorative creases like you see on Kakashi's vest. I spaced it out 1.25 inches per division with a 0.5-inch seam allowance for the folds. This is the triple line we see here with a 1.5-inch margin all around the sides, which will be the final depth of the pockets. Now I'm going to measure and make sure I got all the correct measurements at the end. Next, I'm going to grab my fabric. Here I'm using a trim scrap piece that I had that is olive green, perfect for that military look. Just using a circular fabric cutter, I trace the edges of the pattern that is already the correct size, using my ruler as a guideline so I cut straight edges. Sometimes I don't cut exactly all the way through the fabric, so this is just me cleaning up those still attached edges. Next, I'm going to grab some heavyweight cotton interfacing and hot iron press it to the wrong side of my fabric. Right and wrong here are relative since they're both the same, just like how in life not everything is black and white. What I like to do after attaching the interfacing is to transfer the lines of the paper template onto my fabric piece with a fabric marker. Feel free to use chalk or anything else you'd like. This helps me visualize my margins and where I should match up my fold lines when I start sewing. Having a straight line as your guide when you're in the process of sewing really takes the guesswork out of things. You can pin or clip this too if that's your preference, really up to you. Then when everything is marked out, I do my initial folds to make sure I got the correct lines folded. And once I'm happy with that, I will gently iron the folds so it's flatter and stays put when I start sewing. I begin by folding over so the right sides are facing each other. Then, folding out the crease marks from the previous section, I do a stitch. Don't forget to back stitch to lock it in. I use a straight stitch with a 4 length and a 2 width. I just like the way it looks. You can choose to do something with a smaller length if you like. I think 2 is pretty normal. My seam allowance here should be 0.5 inches. I'm trying to get as close as I can to the edge and not lose too much horizontal space when it's done. After the first one, I find the other crease and fold it along the same way and do the same stitching. Then what you're left with is, if you flip it over, some nice seams. Now, when I press the back seams flat down, but either side works just fine. Next, I'm going to fold the top seam down so that it measures 1.5 inches long. This will act as the top of the cargo pocket. Now, if you remember, I put in some markings there on the fabric before. These should line up. Then go ahead and stitch like normal. The next part after this will be the hardest. That's when we will be sewing around and folding the fabric into itself to create the sides and the bottom of the final cargo pocket. Alright, my gaming brothers and sisters, we're almost at the final part of this tutorial. The last thing that we need to do is fold the sides. I'm starting by folding the sides on the wrong sides together 1.5 inches in from where I made our margin mark. The folds line up nicely here and will act as a guide. You can pin it or clip it, but I felt confident enough that the fabric wouldn't move too much. Using the same stitches we did before, don't forget the back stitch. After we do that, make sure to stop before you reach the end, about 1.5 inches away from the edge. I've done this way too many times and I've gone right through the margin. Then seat your needle in your fabric and lift the foot. This is where things get a little tricky. You just gotta believe it. If it doesn't come out perfect, that's fine. This is a journey, not a sprint. No one is gonna die. I recommend practicing this a few times on scraps before you do a final piece. I maybe made a good 5 or so beforehand, and it's not even close to perfect. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough. Then, after rotating the pocket, we will do the same to the other end, stopping 1.5 inches shy of the end, Rasenganing our fabric 90 degrees again, making sure the needle is seated in the pocket of the fabric before you rotate. Take it home through the end, and don't forget the back stitch. We're almost finished, tate bayo. Once the straight stitch is finished, you will want to find the bottom right corner of the right side of the pocket. Then fold over the triangle as shown. Do your best to make sure everything is matched. Stitch perpendicular to the stitch on the fold on the inside I've added a line to make things easier to see. I suggest you do the same. Once we finish that, we will do the same to the other side. You can see it coming together, but there are some ears we can trim and some loose threads. Feel free to trim as you see fit, but I think the closer you get to the seam, the better. And make sure not to cut the stitches by accident. I know I have. And there you have it, one pocket down for Kakashi's vest. In the upcoming tutorials, I will show how to attach it to a vest and use the nylon webbing and clips to bring it all together. I intend to have a full step-by-step vest tutorial coming in the future. Thank you for watching, and if you learned something or enjoyed yourself, please leave a comment and like my video.